Welcome to my inspirational webinar on the UK Global Talent Visa. Today I will be talking about what is the Global Talent Visa. I'm going to do a brief rundown on what is the endorsement application and process. I'll also go through some of the changes this year. We've had so many, small little changes that may or may affect you in completing your application. So I'll go through that quickly. And then the main star, Hosanna, is going to come on and I will interview Hosanna with my questions, but I'll also open the floor so that you can ask your own questions to Hosanna and to myself if you'd like. So pop the questions in the chat or the Q&A and we'll get to them at the end of the webinar. And hopefully we will have answered some of your questions during our chat and during this introduction here. So just a little bit about myself, if you don't know, my name is Michelle Hewer. I am Vietnamese by background. I have an Australian, British and Irish citizenship, and I got my British citizenship because of the Global Talent Visa. I am a Global Talent Visa coach because in 2016, I received the endorsement for exceptional talent and I became the technician visa ambassador for 2 years. The reason was because, back then the visa was so new. I was one of the top 50 that received the Global Talent Visa, and they asked me to be the ambassador to share my story and to encourage others to apply. And because of that, it turned into something that I didn't realize it would. And then I became a coach at the end of it because I'd been through the process myself, helped so many people along the way. So this is what I do full time. In 2019, I got my indefinite leave to remain, and then I became a British citizen. So this process does allow you the right to live and work in the UK, to settle, and to get citizenship. So it was amazing because I had so many other visas when I was living in the UK. I had an entrepreneur's visa, which was expiring, and that is now the innovator's visa. It was a bit different, but I had an entrepreneur's visa and that was expiring, and I had no other choice other than to renew it. But they had all this criteria for me to renew it. But then the Global Talent Visa was there, and I was able to switch. I spent 7 years in the UK. I based myself in the north of England, in Manchester and Newcastle, and I traveled a lot down to London to work on my startups. So I was very familiar with the three tech ecosystems, very collegial environment, and I really put myself into all those tech ecosystems. Whatever you put in is what you get out of it. So I was very immersed in all three tech ecosystems, and I've got so many networks and contacts, and was able to do a lot with my startup because I was very engaged in the tech community. I was a solicitor in Australia and then got bitten by the entrepreneurial bug and became a founder of my own startup. It was a wearable tech startup. Unfortunately, I had to let that go so that I could do this. I couldn't do both at the same time. I did it for a long time, but I found my passion was in helping others with the Global Talent Visa. I started this all by writing about my story, and that's how people found me. It went viral, and then that's how I started helping everyone. So it was an accidental business that I started, but really, really enjoyed it, and still enjoy it. I've coached over 1,000 tech entrepreneurs, senior exec, and tech employees over the years. My success rate is 90%. The endorsement rate is around 54%. Some of my clients have received a successful result within 3 to 27 hours. Not all of them do, but when they do receive this decision within this time frame, it's very shocking, very happy, and really, really proud of my clients who do achieve the result that they want, and that is to get the endorsement. And over the years, I've helped so many clients from different countries and companies. And you'll see, people from big tech companies to founders to startups to game designers to digital marketers, the list goes on and on. But what I love about this is everyone has a different story to tell, and your story is a unique story. And I try to help all my applicants tell their story through the evidence that they provide, and yeah, hopefully towards a successful result. And this is why I love what I do. No client is the same. Everyone is different, and everyone has a voice and a story to tell. When I applied and after I got my visa, I was, as I said, I was very immersed in the tech sector. Some of this evidence I used in my application, and this goes towards your mandatory criteria leadership and your optional criteria to proof of recognition for work outside of your immediate occupation that advances the tech sector. So because I was so immersed in all three tech ecosystems, I had the opportunity to be featured, to do lots of things to help the tech sector grow. I was an IoT judge at I was a judge at an IoT hackathon, an online international hackathon. They just found me and asked me to be a judge. I was listed in lots of top 10 lists and for startups and ones to watch and things like that through my business, through Made with Glove, because I was developing wearable tech heated gloves. So that really got people talking and interested in what I was doing, even though I couldn't tell people what I was actually doing because it was very confidential in building my product. I was able to tell people what I was doing through what I learned in the wearable tech industry. So I was giving a lot of insights of trends of the wearable tech industry and IoT, and talking about where the industry was headed, what was coming out, and what I thought. So that was my way of talking about my startup, but also talking about the industry as well. So this is my blog. It's on my website. And yeah, it was a blog that I wrote nearly 10 years ago. My 10-year anniversary is next year when I received my endorsement. So my blog is on the website. That was the one that went viral, and I haven't really changed it. And it's still relevant today, so you can have a read of it. So over the years, I helped so many clients, and I never actually got to meet them because what I do is, I do all my meetings online, and I help people from all over the world. And then once they get their visa, they then move to the UK. So last year in October, I hosted my very first Tech Nation Visa alumni event, and I asked my clients who were available and in London to come and meet me. And it was amazing to finally meet my clients in person, give them a big hug, and really wish them well and celebrated with them, because this journey is quite a lonely process, and I've been through it, and no one knows what you're going through unless you've been through it yourself, unless they've been it through themselves. So it was really nice to get them all together and share their stories, and yeah, just meet other people, and I got to meet them as well. So just talking about the updates. This year, there have been quite a number of updates. People got a bit, concerned, but not really many concerns to be worried about, other than I'll just go through them in January. The guidelines do go through a few changes over the years. In the last year and a half, there weren't any changes. And then all of a sudden this year, there were some minor changes to the guidelines. I've got some of the changes on my website. So when you're doing your application, please, when you're going through it, before you submit or just while you're doing it, just keep checking the changelog on the Tech Nation website. And they just put it on there. There's no warning. So when I work with clients, we try to submit as quick as possible so that if there are any changes, either they happen after we've submitted or at the time when we can catch them. On the 12th of May, there was a paper that was released, and that caused a bit of concern for a lot of people as well. It was the immigration white paper. It did sound a bit scary because the title was, controlling immigration and restoring control back. Those kinds of words can be quite scary to migrants. But they did specifically mention the UK Global Talent Visa, and they mentioned that they would, support and increase the number of highly skilled tech people coming into the UK. So I also wrote a blog about that, so you can read about that there. Also, on the 28th of May, after a year of searching for a new endorsing body, TechNation have been the endorsing body since 2014. Their contract was up. It wasn't because, the Home Office weren't happy with them. Their contract was up, so there was a tender out for a new endorsing body. My prediction was TechNation was going to continue to be the endorsing body because they have been for so long. And yes, they are. It has now been confirmed that they will continue to be the endorsing body operating under the Founders Forum umbrella, and they will be the endorsing body for the next 3 years. So not much has changed there. And then on the 3rd of August, this is coming up. If you're in the process of doing your application, just be mindful of the 3rd of August date. The change that will really affect you is that when you apply, that's where the changes will happen. So at the moment, there's 2 steps to applying. The first step is you apply and pay at the Home Office. And the second step is you upload your documents to another website for the TechNation portal, and that's where you upload your documents. But it's been announced that these 2 steps will merge into one. So just be mindful of this date. Maybe if you're wanting to apply, do it now or wait until after that date and then, do it all together, because they said, if you pay and then before the 3rd of August, and then you want to upload your documents after the 3rd of August, they might not accept your application. So just be mindful of this date. Okay. So what is the Global Talent Visa? It used to be called the Exceptional Talent Visa, which is what I got, but it's just a rebrand of name. It's a special visa that was introduced to allow highly skilled tech entrepreneurs and talent the ability to apply for the right to live and work in the UK. It's a 2-stage process. You've got to be endorsed by TechNation before you can apply for your visa. And in order to be endorsed, you have to meet the strict criteria that was set by TechNation, and then before you can apply for the visa. So it's more than a job application. It could sound like a skilled worker visa, but it's more than that. They don't just want you to talk about the work that you do. They want you to talk about your impact to the tech industry in general, and not just the impact to your company. The hashtag TechNation Visa was one of those trending hashtags when I applied, and for a number of years. But the reason why, if you see a TechNation Visa hashtag, it's because the Global Talent Visa is an umbrella visa, and there are many different sectors and endorsing bodies. And TechNation is the endorsing body for the tech visa or digital tech route. There's other endorsing body like the Royal Academy of Engineering. There's an architecture, there's fashion, there's arts. So there's lots of other different endorsing bodies for those types of sectors. So I'm only talking about the tech visa endorsed by TechNation. Okay. The benefits, you get the freedom and flexibility to live and work in the UK for up to 5 years. When I was the founder of my own startup, I had the entrepreneur's visa, and I was very restricted in what I could do. When I switched to the global talent, all of a sudden I could work on my startup. I could also, and I did. I then worked for an accelerator for 3 months. I was a community manager there, and then went back to my startup. And then I decided to work for a university and covered a maternity leave because I just, wanted something different, some more experience. And I could do that and then go back to my startup. So it really gave me the freedom and flexibility to work anywhere. There was no issue about my visa. You can also apply for indefinite leave to remain and British citizenship, as I said. You can switch from the Tier 2 Global Talent Visa, Tier 2 skilled worker to the Global Talent Visa, and your time in the UK also counts. And that's what happened to me for my entrepreneur's visa, similarly for the skilled worker visa as well. You can also bring your dependents with you, which is amazing. People bring their families with them. You can register a UK limited company because when I help students, their student visa restricts them from registering a UK limited company and where they can work. So they switch to global talent, and all of a sudden they can do all these things. They can work for a tech company without the need for a company sponsorship. And this is where a lot of my clients come from. They have a skilled worker visa, and they want to do other things. And the great thing is this visa is attached to you. As I said, you can switch companies and you don't have to worry about company sponsorship. And it is quite cost effective in that stage 1. is about £561. And it's not a lot. It's just when you do get endorsed and then you have to apply for stage 2 visa, that's when the fees are high, but the fees are only high because of the immigration health surcharge. But the actual application fee is £201. So it's not that much. Okay, so stats. This is where I asked you questions about where you're from. So we get lots of applicants from all different parts of the world, 90 plus countries that people are applying from. There is a 54% endorsement rate. This endorsement rate was released a while ago. I have a feeling that it actually is less now. When I applied, there weren't many people applying. It was 68%. And then over the years, it went down to 54%. And I have a feeling in the last 12 months, it's actually reduced. But I don't have official stats. It's just what I've seen of late, but they're not official, but that is the official stats. There's been over, I'd say now there's about 6,500 successful recipients in the last 10 years. The reason why there's not many is because when I applied, and for a number of years after that, they actually capped the endorsements. So when I applied, they only allowed 200 endorsements per year, which is crazy because now there's a lot more, like thousands. So it's crazy that they did cap it back then, but in the last few years they took away that cap, and now anyone who do meet the criteria, they should be endorsed. So when I applied, not only did I have to meet the criteria, I had to be under the 200 that they would endorse. You can apply for talent or promise, and that's just some of the stats. 68% are talent who have more than 5 years, 32% promise. They're just stats, so don't let them affect you in any way. Because tech is very male dominated, there's a 75-25, and I do help a lot of women in tech with their applications. And once you are endorsed and get your visa, you are then invited to join the bigger Technation Visa alumni, and you can meet other people there, but you also automatically joining my alumni. So there's 2 alumni there. So there's here's some more stats, different countries, different endorsement rates. Again, please don't let this stop you from applying, but it's just giving you an idea of the endorsement rates from these countries and the skills. So, people with technical skills obviously have a high endorsement rate because this is a tech visa. But having said that, people with biz dev, marketing, they're also being endorsed. So these are just some of the stats there. And then down here is some of the sectors. And they get this from your application. When you apply, they ask you to tick which sector. So that's where they're getting all the stats from. So 1 in 3 have software engineering skills and 1 in 4 are founders. So it's not just founders, you can be an employee of a tech company as well. And then here are some of the stats for people applying, not have been endorsed. So you can see how many applications and how much they've increased over the years. For me, I was 2016, so I was in the top 50, so there's not many there. But as you can see over the years, there've been, a huge spike in applications, which means this visa is not going to go anywhere. There's too many applicants, and about a 54% endorsement rate. So even though there's 13,000 plus applicants in the last 10 years, 6,500 have been endorsed. So these are the applications applicants submitted in the last couple of months. I keep this record because some of my clients, obviously when they submit, I know what applicant number they are. So I'd like to keep that just to keep track of the trends myself. These aren't official. These are from what I can see when helping clients. So you have to complete 15 documents. 5 documents consist of your CV, personal statement, and 3 letters of recommendations by experts in your field. And then plus another 10 documents. And those 10 documents depend on the criteria that you choose. Okay. You can apply for under this exceptional talent or the exceptional promise category. Talent is if you've got more than 5 years in your experience and you're later in your career, and you can prove your leadership through your skills achievements. And these are for senior leaders, managers, CTOs, CEOs, any management type positions. And if you've got more than 5 years experience, if you've got less than 5 years experience, you're earlier in your career, you can try and show your potential to be a leader. And these are more for students, graduates, and junior. The question that I most commonly get asked is, I've got more than 5 years experience, can I go for promise? You can, but your application might be rejected because this is what the assessors want. If you are more than 5 years experience, you should really go under talent. You should be a leader. You should, hopefully be a bit more senior, because, you shouldn't be competing against students, graduates, and junior people. Okay, so that's the difference. So please, if you do have more than 5 years experience, you should really go for talent. And this is eligibility as well. Eligibility is one thing, meeting the criteria is a whole nother thing. But the first step is to determine whether or not you're eligible. And the good thing is that just because it's a tech visa, you don't just have to have technical skills. You can have business skills as well. So this is not an exhaustive list. Just have a look and see which one you're most suited for. So obviously technical skills, it's pretty clear here, but with the business skills, I help a lot of people with business skills. Anything to do with selling a product that the company's developed, and really growing the product-led company. So that's there. If you're a consultant working for a consultancy, such as Accenture, Wipro, KPMG, PwC, they're usually not eligible for this track, unfortunately. So I always have to say, no, if you work for these companies, you wouldn't be. But if you work for product-led companies, yes, you would be. Yes, you can be an employee or a founder. So 75% are employees who apply, 25% founders. Okay, so it's not just for founders. I get a lot of questions about, is it just for founders? No. Okay, so the real definition for people when they do want to apply, and what is a product-led digital technology company, is those companies that provide a proprietary digital technical service product platform hardware as their primary revenue source. So really, if you work for or are a founder of a company that develops its own products, then yes, that would be considered a product-led digital technology company. And you just need to, don't assume that the assessor knows that it's a product-led. I help people who work at Google, Meta, and all those big tech companies. You just never know. Just explain what that company does and what it is, so there's no question or no doubt about whether or not that company is product-led. Also look on the website of your company. Some companies have a service arm or a consultancy arm as well as a product arm. So, if it looks like they're a consultancy at any point, you have to make sure that you put in your application and all your experts confirm that it's a product-led. Yes, it could have a consultancy arm, but that the main primary revenue source is the product part, okay, developing of products. So I talked about the documents. So you apply for a talent or promise, and then these are the criteria that you can select. You must select mandatory leadership criteria. So you need at least 3 or 4 examples of leadership. Okay, and there's a table in the guidelines that go through what leadership means. So I would like to see at least 3 or 4 examples of leadership. And then, because you have to make up 10 documents, and then the other 6 documents should consist of 2 out of 4 of these. So you only pick 2 out of these 4. You can showcase your innovation. So you'd need 3 examples of innovation, or 3 examples of optional criteria 2, which is proof of recognition of work outside of your immediate occupation that advances the tech sector. So 3 examples of that, 3 examples of any commercial, technical, entrepreneurial impact, or 3 examples of academic contributions. When I applied, it was all different, but what I'm seeing is obviously you have to select mandatory criteria, leadership, and optional criteria 2 and 3. These are the 2 that a lot of people select. Innovation, yes, people do select that as well, but from my experience, it's easier to select these 2. And then these are just this is just the process of applying. So I know this is a lot. So this is stage 1 endorsement. I only help with stage 1 endorsement. And once you are endorsed, you go for stage 2, the visa. But within stage 2, there's 2 steps. And this is what's changing in August 3rd. The first step at the moment is you pay and register online at the Home Office. So you pay your £561. And then you've got 30 working days to then upload your documents to the Tech Nation portal. Okay. And then you submit. The average decision time from assessors is 8 weeks, but they can take up to 8 weeks, but the average decision time is 3 to 4 weeks. And as I said before, sometimes my clients get a quicker result. So the average is 3 to 4 weeks. And then if the Home Office will then tell you if you're successful or unsuccessful. It's an email. If you are successful, great, you go to stage 2 and apply at the Home Office, and that's where you pay your 201, you do your biometrics, and then you pay for your immigration health surcharge, and that's the fee. That's quite high. It's $1,035 per year per person. When I applied back in 2016, it was 200. So it's gone up a lot in the last sort of 10 years, which you would expect. If you are unsuccessful, the good thing is that you have the opportunity to appeal. There is no fee for appeal. You can go back and answer the feedback, and you've got 28 calendar days to do that. And then the assessor has 28 calendar days. The new assessor has 28 calendar days to review your appeal and your application, and they decide for sure whether or not you are endorsed. Sometimes the second assessor overturns the first assessor's decision, and I have had that happen in the past when I've helped clients appeal, and then they are successful and they go straight to stage 2. Sometimes people are not endorsed the second time around, go back and redo their application and then go through this process again. So I help people all over the place. I have helped people who do the application themselves or have other people help them, not endorsed, and then we do it the second time around and they are endorsed. So that's great news for them, and then they get the stage 2 and then they get their visa. So these are the common questions that I help people with. Am I eligible? How do I present my documents? Because it's very important how you structure your evidence and what is relevant information and what is not. I get people asking, or telling me that they've done all these volunteer work, for example, proof of recognition for work outside of your immediate occupation that advances the tech sector. But we really have to think about, okay, is it really relevant? Is what you do outside of your day-to-day job relevant to the tech sector and relevant, and how does it advance the tech sector? Just because you work for a charity and you do the technical, side of that charity, what does that charity actually do? Is it a tech charity or is it another kind of charity? And if it's another kind of charity, then you wouldn't be able to use that as evidence because it's not relevant. Who can be your experts? And I help with that. How do you show your innovations, your impact? How do you show you're a leader? And how much experience you need? And I've received an unsuccessful result. What should I do? And I help with that as well. Okay. So first off is finding out if you're eligible. So my website is michellehewer.co.uk, and there's loads of resources on there, and I can also check whether or not you're eligible. So please have a look at that and complete my eligibility questionnaire, and I can invite you to a 15-minute discovery call and then have a chat to you about your potential application. Okay. My top tips in being a coach and being a recipient. This is your chance to tell your unique story. Each document has a story, and you need to not only meet the criteria, but also highlight your strengths. Your tech network is your net worth. I moved to England, knew no one. But in 3-4 years that I lived there, I made sure that I knew people, and it's not just about you knowing people, it's about who knows you as well. And that's how I started to become an expert in the wearable tech industry. People were contacting me because they saw what I was doing, and they wanted to talk to me and interview me and feature me and work with me. So it is really about your network. This process is about self-promotion as well, and not in a way to brag. It's just about how do you highlight your strengths and achievements to the assessor so that they can be convinced that you deserve to be in the UK. Being eligible is one thing. Meeting the criteria requires a strategy in putting together all 15 documents. I always start with a strategy session because, like with any project, you don't just go and go full force into starting a project without a plan in place. And this is where I help my clients in my strategy session. We talk about, we do a deep dive into your whole career, the last 5 to 7 years, and really think about your story and what your goal is and what story do you want to tell through all the evidence that you're going to be submitting. Please contact me sooner rather than later if you need my support. I have people contacting me and wanting help within 2 weeks or within a week. This is, this is a process that takes time, and really think about your career in the last 5 to 7 years, and we want to do it right. So please do take the time to do this properly. I can check your application, I can review it, or have a strategy session with you. Assessors also don't click on links as well. A lot of people throw in a lot of links. They won't accept it because there's a 3-page limit, and you have to stick to that 3-page for each document. So I know I've rushed through this because I know Hosanna's waiting and I really want to ask her lots of questions, but I do have a YouTube channel where I upload a lot of things, my videos and any updates and changes. So have a look at my YouTube. My website's very resourceful. Have a look at that, and also email me if you have any questions. Okay, so we have Hosanna here. Hi, Hosanna.
Hey there, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I hope everyone can
Great.
hear. If you can't hear, let me know in the chat. We know that the chat's working now. It's really lovely to see you. And look at this. You're in between. You're now, living in London. You have your old home, new home. It's really nice to see. And I think seeing this really shows that, you've been on quite a journey, and you have a new life ahead of you in London.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, Michelle.
It's really nice. So welcome, and it's really lovely to see you. I know we only saw each other, not long ago. You're one of my most recent successful clients. So I'd like you to share just a little bit of an intro about yourself so people can, meet you and see what you're about.
Hey, everyone. Nice to meet you all virtually. My name is Hosanna. I am a director of global program management at Spotify. Currently, I've been in the tech industry for over 12 years. So I guess I don't know if that makes me a veteran. It doesn't always feel that way. And I am, like Michelle said, I was endorsed for the Global Talent, Exceptional Talent track recently. Previously, I was on the skilled worker visa, and my visa was expiring kind of in the next couple months. And I moved to the UK about 3 years ago, so August 2022, and have just really felt like the UK is my home. I've recently made it my home with a house. And I also, on a personal note, recently gave birth to my daughter as well. So just feeling really rooted here. And so for me, applying for this visa, I was looking to have a bit more flexibility in the work I do, not having to be attached to a specific company to have my visa sponsored. And I was also looking to engage more with kind of the scale up space. And oftentimes those companies can't always sponsor visas. And then lastly, I also am bit by the entrepreneurial bug like Michelle, and wanted to have the flexibility to start my own company or do something like that. And in a lot of employment contracts for technology, it's you can't actually start your own company, or there's a kind of first right of kind of towards any sort of IP or innovation that happens if you do so. So yeah, those were kind of the reasons I applied for the visa. The visa I was kind of previously on, and my reasons for kind of moving to the UK.
Wow. So August 2022, you were on a skilled worker visa. So judging by the time, and this is what a lot of people, might want to ask is, so 3 years, you got the global talent visa, exceptional talent route. So that means that in 3 years, you can apply for indefinite leave to remain, and your time in the UK counts, which means you,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can.
So I, to your point, I 180'd from visa expiring and potentially looking at leaving the UK to now. Within this year, I'm actually in the process of applying to indefinite leave to remain. And then for any people with children or kind of child dependents, they can apply for citizenship this year once I get my indefinite leave to
Wow,
remain.
that's
My
crazy.
husband has 2 years left on his dependent visa, but he can continue on his dependent visa. So
Okay.
this visa is just incredible in terms of your ability to also support your dependents.
Oh, that is amazing. Well done, Hosanna. That, you've just not only has this visa given you opportunities for your tech career, two other people you've impacted, obviously your family, of course, you're going to look after them, but this is looking after them in a whole nother way. And that's amazing. It really is. Well done. I'm really proud. I get goosebumps when I hear this. What challenges and hesitations did you have before you applied for the visa or for the endorsement?
Yeah, well, so I wanted to get started right away on applying for this visa. And I think, frankly, the biggest challenge I met was I actually initially went with a bigger law firm that had helped me with my skilled worker visa. And they were, considered one of the best in the industry for helping with this visa. But unfortunately, that was not my personal experience. I think because I was applying as an individual, potentially, I got lost in kind of their caseload, and they said things like they would take 5 to 7 business days to respond to any question I had, which when you're trying to move fast, is just not in this day and age is not acceptable. And frankly, didn't even get responses within that timeline. And then just really was getting quite generic advice. So I lost about 6 weeks in that kind of with that initial group in terms of applying to this visa. And so that frankly was a really challenging and upsetting experience. Yeah,
Wow. Geez, that's 6 weeks. We could finish an application with it. I know I said
we
before,
did finish an application in that time. Yeah, exactly.
I know, yeah, I know I said, contact me sooner rather than later, but like, 5 to 7 days or whatever to respond to a question that's, when you're their client, that is huge. And also in terms of structuring your evidence, did you have any challenges in structuring your evidence and this is before you came to me.
Yeah, exactly. So like I mentioned, they give it very generic in advice. And just to give an example of that, and frankly, even so misleading advice, I would say. So I'll give two examples. So one is um, there was new, as Michelle mentioned earlier in this call, there was new kind of guidelines put forward by TechNation, and they had told me to consider evidence that actually did not align with the new guidance that was put forward. So that was one example. And then the second example is in terms of structuring my evidence, they were kind of if they provided any guidance, which was very rarely, they then told me to use a lot of evidence that was geared towards my current company, which of course is part of my story. But they wanted, for example, my recommendation letters to be from my CEO at Spotify, which I work for one of the biggest Fortune 500 companies. Our CEO certainly doesn't have time to be writing me rec letters. Yeah, it was very frustrating and misleading, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's yeah, that is very specific and detailed challenges, and I'm surprised that you had the motivation to continue because it can stop you from wanting to apply when you get that kind of advice, which is not very helpful. I get a lot of clients even asking, I can get the CEO, which is great, but really, are they the appropriate people to be your expert? It depends on your relationship with them. Yeah, if you could get a letter from CEO, that would be great, but what's the story? What are they going to say about you? Do they actually know you that well to write for you? So, and we
That's
didn't
it.
use them. We didn't need them.
Exactly.
We
Just
didn't
to
need them.
add a little color to exactly what you're saying, Michelle. Um, they said that I couldn't use any recommenders who were less than a C-suite, which again, there's new evidence that came out this year sorry, new guidelines that came out this year that says that's not the
Yeah.
case. And to your point, those people, even though I may have been able to get their recommendations, wouldn't have been able to tell my story the way that I believe the recommended technician body would look for.
Yeah, Yeah. So that, yeah, that is very important. Okay. So, how did you overcome some of your hesitations and challenges, and how did you find me?
Yeah, so Michelle came recommended through a friend. I did a reach out on my social media to just see if anyone had better experiences with other um, kind of people within the space, and Michelle came recommended through a friend. And I knew immediately through the first 15-minute free consultation call with Michelle that I gave the overall details of my case really quickly, and you immediately jumped on the fact that they had provided me wrong guidance based on the current guidelines. You immediately jumped into kind of some better strategic directioning on what my applications should look like. So from the first free 15-minute consultation call, I knew you were the right person to help me get this application, submitted and ultimately successfully submitted. So that would be just my recommendation is definitely to use that free 15-minute consultation because you're so good at getting into the details quickly. And then secondly, I think where we were able to overcome some of those kind of gaps is that you were able to kind of see my brand as a holistic picture. So not just my contributions in my current company, but you saw, the mentorship experience that I brought to the table that my previous advisor said was not applicable. You looked at the speaking and publications that I had been contributing to and were able to bring that out. So I think you did a really great job of kind of strategically looking at me as a whole picture and creating this well-rounded, holistic story that connected both to my internal contributions at my current company and others, as well as my external contributions to the general tech industry.
Thank you. That's really nice. And you really did. Like I knew, and I know within the 15 minutes and just talking to you, and you had done a lot of your application by yourself. But it just needed a bit of a story and structure and then expert, yeah, we worked really hard and we worked a lot. And unfortunately we didn't submit before you gave birth, but we submitted after, right after.
And nothing not because of any delays on your
No,
behalf. So I want to make that super clear.
thank
Like you were running
you.
at the speed of light.
At one point, I remember we were working at 2 a.m. in the morning, just trying to get things done.
That's it.
Um, we were both working, so no, I wanted to get this done for you, and I'm so happy that we did get it done in the time frame because it was around 6 weeks that we had to get you going, and no better way than to have a baby coming or a visa expiring. It's
It's a good motivation, exactly, to get stuff
it
done.
is. Those two. Great. So let's have a look at your experts. Who did we end up choosing? Because the guidelines have changed a little bit, but I do get a lot of questions about, okay, who can my experts be? And a lot of people think it's just people from who you work with in your current organizations or previous organizations, but we didn't do that for you. And you shouldn't have too many people that are your managers or directors or leaders in your organization.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I think initially, as part of the strategy session, you source kind of who could potential speakers, recommenders be, and to your point, I think none of them were some of the people we ended up using. So I used my current manager, which was great to show my kind of internal contributions, but then we actually pulled two new people from the kind of original strategy direction I was going to go. So one was the founder of a mentorship organization I work with, who also is a pretty well-known person within the technology industry herself, has several patents in her name. So I was able to bring in that mentorship story through my recommendations, as well as then we pulled from the founder of membership organization within the tech community that I speak with frequently, and she was able to tell my story from kind of the perspective of a founding member of an engaged member of the tech community, and speak to this multiple speaking engagements and publications that I've done partnering with her.
Absolutely. So to me, that was a no-brainer. Of all the things that you did in the tech sector, that they would be the perfect people to support you. So that's really good. They were very strong experts, and they told us, each one told a story about you, your leadership, your impact within the company, but also external, and the impact that you made to the industry. So they were perfect experts, very strong experts. Um, and okay, so the criteria. So I talked about the three criteria that you have to select. Which ones did we choose for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we picked OC2 and OC3. So the OC2 is kind of talking about your kind of contributions externally, establishing you both as a thought leader, but also as it can also be with mentorship as well. So I chose OC2 for the speaking and the publications that I did, and then OC2 as well for mentorship because I can mentor young girls both in person and online in kind of the tech space. And so that was my OC2 kind of evidence and kind of the external contributions. And then for internal contributions, I chose OC3, which is kind of speaks more to kind of your impact within your organization. That was for us really showing how the products I work on help my company achieve its strategy. And we were able to show kind of both some leadership within that space, but then also the impact and importance of the products I worked on.
Yes, and your experts then could also confirm and validate that as well. And you
Exactly.
also, yeah, you also significantly contributed to the tech sector through a publication that had your name on it, which is something that the assessors are looking for now. Is they want you to not only be Googleable, but have some kind of thought leadership within the industry. So publications and reports with your name on it, that's quite new that the assessors are looking for. So if anyone needs some advice on OC3, that is what assessors are looking for now. Any names on reports or anything that can showcase your leadership within and help the digital tech sector as well. Okay, so we've got a strong application there, submitted, successful. But when did you submit your application? And when did you receive the result? We didn't submit it at 2 a.m. though.
No, we didn't. No late night submissions. No, yeah. So we submitted May 15th, and then I heard back about my endorsement on May 23rd. So very quick turnaround on the endorsement, which
Wow.
was a huge relief.
That is amazing. That's so
Yeah,
good. And just getting that email, you have been endorsed. There's no bells and whistles. It's just very stern, very clinical. And Hosanna forwarded to me and go, oh, we did it. So
absolutely.
yeah,
Well, I definitely felt like it was a team effort to get the
gosh.
endorsement. So
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I'm there just to help guide you and coach you through the process. Of course, you did a lot of the work, but I don't want to get stuck into your application because I need to keep a helicopter view, making sure that our goals, our story, everything is right. And my job is to know the criteria inside out because that's what, if you think about it, the assessors are looking and ticking boxes and things. I can just see them doing it. So amazing. Like within what, 10 days?
yeah,
Far
week and a
out.
half. Yeah.
That's crazy. Well done. That's really nice. Okay, so then now that you've done now you've gone through the process almost twice because you had the first with the other lawyer and the second. We'll forget about that. But now that you've gone through the process, what advice would you give to people, the audience today?
Yeah, so I have kind of really three pieces of advice. So first, I think frankly, when you hear, thought leader, global talent, visa, exceptional talent, those are quite strong words and sometimes, you can feel it may not always feel like that applies to you. It can be quite intimidating. But actually, when you look into the kind of requirements and you look into the evidence that they're looking for, I would say that, there's a lot you can apply and you can be qualified for this role. Maybe even if you don't think of yourself yet as a thought leader, I would say go through the thought exercise, go through the strategy session, because I think you'll actually find that you are a thought leader but maybe you by the definition of the criteria and the evidence, but it just takes time to kind of do that thought exercise and think about yourself as a brand and kind of tell that story. So one is don't be intimidated when you hear thought leadership. Second one is just getting started now. There's I was able to, because I was already engaged in the tech industry, already doing mentorship, already plugged into the speaking network and the publications network, draw on that evidence. And so I wasn't having to start from my application from scratch. I could really just pull from kind of these things that I was already doing in the industry to kind of tell my story. And so that way, Michelle could spend more of her time when we did the strategy sessions and when we were putting together the evidence, looking at my contributions holistically and being able to tell a story in terms of the internal and external contributions, and kind of create that holistic brand, if that makes sense. And then the last piece of evidence, example, advice I'd say, sorry, is prioritization. So really, you can get this application done quite quickly if you are already kind of engaging in the community. Um, we probably could have gotten it done in 4 weeks. We had my publication I worked on get delayed until after giving birth.
Yeah.
But we got it done in six
Mm,
weeks still.
yeah.
So I would just say that you can get it done quite quickly, and I would highly recommend that because uh, it's it's so much more helpful to work on this application when you're already in that mind space, and there's a lot of kind of intricacies in connecting dots between evidence. So prioritize and get it done quickly so you can kind of tell that story holistically.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think prioritization, and you're one of the few, very, very few clients I have that can get it done in 4 to 6 weeks. I have clients that, through no fault of their own, it's just things take longer. As you could see, things do take a long time. Some stay around for 6 to 12 months, but you didn't have that time. You didn't have the luxury of that time. Whereas some clients say, look, it's fine. I don't have a strong deadline, but I like working like that as well, Hosanna, because we're both in the zone and we're going back and forth and then submit, done, result. Oh my gosh, that's the best thing ever. But yeah, no, it's really good advice. And what does this visa now really mean to you? I know you talked a little bit about that. What are your plans?
Yeah, but before I answer that, just
Yeah.
one last thing to say on the prioritization is I think, if you are aware in the tech industry, there is a lot of uncertainty right now and there's a lot of volatility. And so I think my advice would also just be, there it's easy to push these things off, and like, whether that's doing the speaking engagement or writing that publication or, mentorship, it's always easy to push these things off and just focus on your job. And frankly, I've been a victim of that too. But prioritizing this and really like giving yourself that option to kind of stay in the UK regardless of what's happening with your skilled worker visa, if you're on a skilled worker or
Mm.
dependent visa. I can't emphasize that enough. So sorry, just wanted to like underscore that message. And but yeah, what does this visa mean for me now? So, like I said, it's really just focusing on kind of re-engaging in the scale-up community. I love working for big tech companies, but I really am interested in that kind of not quite 0 to 1, but 1 to 10 million space. So I'm really excited to get kind of plugged in to those kind of companies, especially with like as we were seeing the investment in AI and like so many AI startups kind of coming online in the UK space. So that's kind of what I'm looking for next. And then continuing to my thought leadership and kind of influencing, if you will, within the tech space. I think it's been really great to be able to share my experiences and my know-how and then continue to work with other kind of influencers in the space. Yeah.
That's really nice. That's really nice. And I know you had a very strong application when you came to me anyway, and we worked really hard. But just I might be asking you a question off the cuff, but did you learn anything new about yourself in this process?
Oh, absolutely. I would say, yes, I had a strong application in some regards, but I think
Mm,
again, to create the thought leader profile and really prove that, it can feel quite nebulous. So you really need to have a clear and consistent story. And I don't think I had that before working with
Mm.
Michelle. And I think
Mm.
Michelle was able to help me see how these, things that I thought potentially were disparate actually told a holistic story. You may not be able to connect like kind of the product work I do for scale ups and tech companies, but to the mentorship I do, but actually we were able to create that through line through the strategy sessions. So yeah,
I'm pleased because you were a very strong candidate. I just wanted to know if you actually did learn anything about yourself, and I'm really pleased that our coaching sessions helped you see something else and maybe take that into your new to interviews, and just so that you can
exactly.
yeah, tell the interviewer, in a more structured, precise way. These are all the things you do outside, but it also helps in your job as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, again, because you're telling the story we can get bogged down in technical terminology. You're telling your
Mm.
story in a very simple way. And so I think that will serve you regardless of if it's job interviews in your current role, promotion stories, simplifying and telling your brand is an invaluable exercise.
Yeah, and you taught me a lot about Spotify and things that happen. But obviously, I keep it confidential. But it's the storytelling. It's you told it in such a simple way, and of course, I didn't understand the technical stuff. But the assessors aren't technical. Like not all assessors are the same. So you need to pretend that they don't know nothing about Spotify as well. You're the one that knows
Yeah,
all the intricate details, but just keep it high level, but also explain it in a way that you're making significant impact and contributions not only to Spotify, but to the users, to the industry in general. So I'm really, really happy that you got the result you did, and so really proud of you, and so excited for the things that are coming up for you. It's almost like wow, yeah, you've just got so many new opportunities coming your way. But
absolutely.
priority first, new baby. You got to prioritize your new baby, but after that, yeah, I'm really excited to hear what you're going to be doing next. So we'll keep in touch.
You're
Yeah.
awesome.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So that concludes my interview with Hosanna. I have, thank you, Eric. He's got some really nice things to say about you. Right. So thought leadership. Yes, Hosanna did say, yes, it can be quite scary. Now, with thought leadership and speaking at events and things like that, for the Global Talent Visa endorsement process, they do have this number where you should be speaking in front of a crowd of over 100. So if you can get your audience numbers to more than that, that would be good. But I had a client that spoke not only to physically, but she also, it was also uploaded on YouTube, on the organization's YouTube. And her audience, her viewership went up to like 15,000. So just because they're not physical, online is good enough as well. So it really can depend and go across many platforms. But the guidelines do say it should be 100. Okay. And the guidelines also say keynote speaker. Yes, it sometimes the assessors are strict and say strictly keynote, but then I've seen decisions where we've submitted and they're not a keynote, but their applications and their documents have been accepted. So it depends. No two assessors are the same, but the guidelines are there. They say keynote, but I've submitted some without keynote. With yours, Hosanna, we had a keynote and non-keynote. So yeah, it just depends. So I hope that helps. I also started a lot with community events, and even though I didn't use them as with my evidence, but I continued to do more and more events. And then in the end, in with a few months' time or 6, 12 months' time, I was actually invited to speak at the bigger events. And then that's when I got my 100. So Hosanna's nodding because it's a process and you have to start somewhere. I started a lot with writing on LinkedIn, even though LinkedIn is not a medium or platform that's acceptable for the stage one endorsement. I kept writing on LinkedIn, and that's how I found my voice, and that's how I found my thought leadership. And then magazines and publications started contacting me to write on their platform. So you have to start somewhere. Don't look at the guidelines saying I have to do this. It's a process. It's a journey, and it took me 3 years, and Hosanna, it took you some time as well without thinking about the global talent, but it takes time to build a brand, build your thought leadership. So that's why this process can take a while. But once you've got all that evidence, the application process can be very quick. So Eric, I hope that helps you with your question. Does anyone have any other questions? Did we answer them all? I was shocked. Usually I have 1,000 questions, but you know, I think Hosanna answered all my questions really well. And I know we're 1 minute over, but look, if you have any other questions, now's the time. Any other thoughts, Hosanna? Do you know many people that have been endorsed of late, or your network?
No, I would just say I think
Yeah,
a lot of my network now is actually looking into. I'm obviously friends with some other Americans, and they're all also looking into this visa now because, again, they were initially kind of scared and intimidated, and now they're looking
yeah,
into it. So, yeah, absolutely,
yay.
I would say, people are applying more now. So,
Uh,
and just a thought on Eric's question, I would say, like you said, get the ball rolling and there's so many conferences, both virtual and online, in person these days, and a lot of these organizations are looking for speakers. So, what I did is I also just cold connected to a lot of the communities in London, and then if you're already based here or still in your home country, speak at those local in-person events because they do really are like having people for those events, and it's
mm,
sometimes harder for them to recruit for in person. So that's another
yeah.
angle to try.
Yeah, that's good advice. And they know people as well. So again, it's about pulling in your networks and asking them to help you because you don't know what their network is. And then all of a sudden, because you help them, they're willing to help you. And this is why I loved, being involved with Manchester, London, Newcastle tech communities. Everyone is so helpful as long if you whatever you put in is what you get out of it. And Hosanna, I saw you put in so much effort into your communities. That's why you got a lot of things out of it. Yeah. So yeah, try get some speaking gigs. You just need to start. The first one is always the hardest, trust me. I started with, small ones and I spoke about the same things because the more you speak, the easier it's going to get. Yeah. And then just keep rehashing the same story or whatever to different communities. And then you'll start to get bored of your story and then you change, and you'll see and you'll go to events and you'll see what people are wanting to hear about what your thought leadership is on certain topics because we're human, we have so many facets to us, we have so many things to say, so yeah, pick ones for that right audience. One community might want one thing, another community might want a whole nother thing, so yeah, play around with it. Yeah, there you go. If anyone knows of an event, yeah. Perfect. Yeah, so there's loads. That the Meetup website is really good. Have a look at the Meetup website in your area, and you will see loads of things happening. Meetup used to be really, really big when I was in tech. I don't know what it is like now. It's still big.
I
Um,
would say that especially it's definitely rebuilding, and again, that's why I mentioned
yeah,
like if you can do virtual or in person, they're really looking for people in person events.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, do that. Okay, so we're a few minutes over, and I think that's it, Eric. Thank you so much for your question. And I really do hope that you can get some gigs, and even it doesn't have to be speaking gigs. It can be articles. You can write articles. Okay. What else? I get examples could be you can be a judge in a tech event. I was a judge at a yes podcast. Yes, Hosanna, you were on a podcast, weren't you? No?
Yeah, that was
Yeah, you
going to be
were.
one of
Yeah.
our, yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
you were. Yeah.
Podcast. Yep.
Yeah, podcast, definitely. I have people who have been interviewed on certain publications. Yes. Yeah. So if you have your own, again, they don't like your own platform, but it depends. It depends on what your story is, and I like to tell all of your stories. So keep doing your own, but also go on others. The guidelines provide that LinkedIn, Medium, and your own platform wouldn't be admissible. However, I've done that because if there's a story to tell about your own platform, tell it. But you also have to be mindful of the guidelines. So not only will you have to have your own platform, but then add in other platforms as well, just to hedge your bets, to tell that story. So yeah, continue to do that. And yeah, your reach digitally is much bigger and wider than physical, but have a mix of both. definitely. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there now. I'd love to talk to Hosanna all afternoon, but she's very busy now. And perfect. Thanks, Eric. But thank you everyone for joining. And again, as I said, you're all on my newsletter list now, so I will share the recording and also any updates. I've got another inspirational webinar coming up. And again, it's from an American, very popular at the moment. So I have an American who is in AI, and she received her visa earlier this year, but just trying to figure things out before coming on and sharing her story. And I most recently received a successful decision from a client from China. So she received her result within 10 days also. So yeah, they are coming back quicker. So she's coming on soon, hopefully in the next month or two. So watch this space. I will send confirmed dates by email, but wanted to thank Hosanna. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know you're so busy now, but your story really does help a lot of people. When I applied, there was no one. I know 10 years have passed, but again, everyone's story is different. And the more stories you hear, the more inspiration you will give to people. And you totally are very inspiring. I was very inspired working with you. And I'm really sad that we're not working together anymore, but I know we'll keep in touch.
Absolutely. And I just can't thank you enough for everything you've done for me, and just so impressed by your work ethic and
Thank you.
just how you've been able to shape my story. So thank you so much, Michelle, and definitely stay in touch. I know I wish we could work together more, but
It's
we'll figure something
okay.
out.
It's okay. We'll be friends now. That's even better.
There we go.
Thank
Much
you.
better.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks. Bye,
Cheers.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.